I'm not even thinking that way. Like
Right.
people, we're not thinking that way. Like we want to repay evil for what? No, that's not. When I talk to brothers, I talk to sisters. That's not what we're talking about doing.
We don't die, we just multiply. X gon' walk the spot after nines when we come alive. Just like Autobots, move around, ain't no time to watch.
Being proud of your heritage and who you are doesn't mean you hate other people.
No.
And it's funny because that argument or that conversation doesn't seem to come up when we're talking about people who like to put on kilts,
No.
who like to play bagpipes,
Yeah.
who like to do some of the native dances and stuff like that. It only seems to come up as a topic of conversation when it comes to African Americans.
That's right.
If you don't want to identify as African American, black,
Right.
whatever you want to call it, because some people,
That's
you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to say people of color because people of color can include a whole array of people.
Yes, you can.
Talk about black folk,
Yeah.
but it seems to only be a problem when it comes to us.
Yeah.
Just because I'm proud of my heritage or proud of who we are, what we come through, where we come from, or whatever, it does not mean I hate you. And I want people to understand that if y'all don't get nothing else today, don't hate nobody. I love who I am, just like the Scottish person or the Irish person loves who they are. The Italian person loves who they are, and I don't, and I love that. And just like you love your stuff, I love my stuff, and I love you.
Amen.
So,
yeah.
What would you say? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish your question. Yeah.
No, I was going to go on to something else, but I know you probably want to say something about it.
No. Well. So I think one of the things we're dealing with. So we've been in this vortex, right, of white supremacy so long that it's hard for us to call out inconsistencies. But the truth of the matter is that it's not just the people in the kilts, right, and all the other European, fragments that make up whiteness, right? They just, there was no whiteness, and then all these different Europeans came together to say, hey, numerically, we better make sure we're strong enough. This was a political move to even define the term white and all of that other kind of stuff. That's a whole nother thing, right? There was not, all their individual heritages. They continue to hold on to them. We continue to have spaces within the society to celebrate them, and there is nothing wrong with being proud of that heritage. We have multiple other ethnicities, even brown-skinned ethnicities, whether we talk about the East Indian, individuals, whether we talk about our Asian brothers and sisters, whether it be from China or Japan or Vietnam or any of the other countries, whether we talk about our Hispanics that are here in the area. All of them make space for celebration of and continuation of their cultural heritage and identity. But because we've been in the vortex of white supremacy so long, and it was the very intent of them to strip away our cultural identity, our language, those things that made us who we are. It is only when we begin to determine and develop a cultural identity, right? A social movement from the African-American space that any of this anxiety, angst, tension, fight back actually happens. We're the only people that they struggle with that. And it's because the last time we had the audacity to say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. There were legislative movements. The country had to shift. It had to change. There was an entire movement when we stood up and decided that we were going to not only celebrate, but be proud of who we were. And so since then, that thing has been squelched. Look at what happened in the early 90s, brother. Look at where hip hop was then. Look at the domination of hip hop in the early 90s with people like X-Clan and Brand Nubian and Tribe Called Quest and all of these pro-black, right, movement-oriented brothers and sisters. What happened to hip-hop? It was infected at that time, and they stopped playing positive, conscious hip-hop at that time. During that time, they had a problem with brothers and sisters wearing X's, and this ain't a validation of the theology, the religion, or any of that. I'm talking about what it did for the psyche of the black people at that time as we were moving into a progressive black consciousness. We were fighting and speaking up against apartheid. Dr. Bill Cosby was celebrating, HBCUs on his television show, A Different World. There was too much black power, black consciousness, and black empowerment going on. And so the only people that are pushed down when it comes down to speaking up about that stuff is us. Everybody else, you're able to celebrate your culture, keep those cultural heritage, have entire segments of neighborhoods and cities. Think about it. The black town is normally the poor town, the place we've been pushed into. But there are Chinatowns everywhere you go. There are the Hispanic areas everywhere you go, where business and commerce flow in those areas. Not just where they are relegated to another side of the track, right? Because you're being pushed into and isolated into an economically deprived area, but places where they do business together, where they circulate their dollars, where they spend their funds together. If you travel up in that McKinney and Louisville and corridor up there, you're going to find a lot of East Indians. You're going to find a lot of segments where those businesses are centralized on purpose. They spend money together, they circulate, and they celebrate their heritage. The only people we have a problem with doing this is African Americans, and I think it goes back to both guilt and fear. Guilt over what's happened in the past, but fear, if we actually united and became powerful together, that somehow we would now do to them what they did to us. I truly believe we're still dealing with that inerrant, deep-rooted, subconscious fear in the minds of white people here in this country. They are afraid of us rising up and doing to them what they did to us. And so they're projecting their evil onto us, and many of us actually allow it because we don't push back on those thoughts.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because in my mind, like, I'm not even thinking that way. Like, people, right. we're not thinking that way. Like, we want to repay evil for what? No, that's not. When I talk to brothers, I talk to sisters. That's not what we're talking about doing. We're not talking about repaying and doing this. And I think, like you said, I think that's the biggest fear, thinking that we're going to repay it, and that is truly not the case, man. Well, listen, man. Listen. This is going to be kind of a little of a hot topic, but I really don't care. You know how we get. This is how we get down on
yes,
that. I really don't care.
Yes, sir.
I'm finna step on some toes. If you got to go, you got to go. How do you feel about the LGBT community sort of aligning themselves with the same struggles as the civil rights movement, as if the same thing that they marched about in the 60s, the 50s, in the 60s, as if even today their struggle is the same struggle as what we came through or what we're going through? I, for one, and I've talked, and many of my family members, we find offense with that, because being what I am is not a choice.
Right.
I can't wake up in the morning to decide I'm going to hide my blackness. Yeah. I'm going to hide who I am. But I have met others within that community. They can easily hide. Yeah. They can easily hide, and it becomes more of a choice. And so what I'm trying to say is, I don't think it's the same struggle. That's me. But I just want to hear your thoughts on that. What do you feel about that? Because being with that community is not the same as being an African American. Yeah. And try to parallel the two, I think is a disgrace. And I just
So two things can be true, right? At the same time. So from the standpoint, I am one who I do not celebrate the LGBTQIA lifestyle.
Thank y'all for watching. If you like to view the full live, you can click the link at the bottom of this video. And do us a favor. We noticed that about 56% of y'all that watch our videos are not subscribed. So please consider hitting that subscribe button and smashing that bell. It costs you nothing and means a whole lot to us. Anyways, we appreciate your time. Thank you for rocking with us. God bless y'all. Y'all take care.
It's too expensive, mics is way too high. I don't go outside, less is after 9. It's the lie, then she hit my line. Talking my Valentine, said I love her, never seen it coming. I guess she was blind, nothing to say. I'm the one that got away, perfect crime.